I don't know how you feel about climate change. Quite frankly, I'm kind of torn on the issue. I'm like in many political arguments, right smack in the middle. Do I believe that humans are changing the climate? Yes, I do. Do I believe that there are some climate fanaticism going on that next 5 years is going to be the end of the world? I don't think so. Now, the White House Effect, is on Netflix. We're going to watch it. We're going to give you the commentary. My name is Kris Rubio. Let's do this. And here's the whole thing about this whole movie or documentary that we're about to watch. There's a lot of documentaries. Documentaries are one of these things, especially with climate change, that if you lean one way, you could have all these documentaries, have all these articles, have all these peer-reviewed studies that support your claim, and then a friend or somebody that thinks opposite of you will have their own peer-reviewed studies that they've read, their own articles, and their own documentaries that they're gonna counter you with. So, I'm not trying to be controversial. I love watching these kind of documentaries because I love seeing other people's or other groups' opinions. So let's go ahead. There was a drought of 1988, and it was interviewing all these people, and everybody, like today, it was like, this is the hottest I've ever experienced in my life. It seems like every year, temperatures are getting hotter and hotter. It's just so weird. I feel like John Travolta. It's so weird. Every year it gets hotter and hotter. It's like being a manager. Any given restaurant, you always have to beat last year's number, or else all hell is gonna break loose. One news segment said 2 people died of heat stroke, and then it automatically followed by, oh, it's because of the carbon dioxide in the air, and it's the thing called the greenhouse effect, the infamous greenhouse effect. By the way, that was my nickname in high school, greenhouse effect. No, come on guys, greenhouse effect, because it's hot when I'm playing that basketball, right? Stupid joke. It's crazy to think about. I'm seeing these congressional hearings, and they're smoking cigarettes inside these congressional hearings. A scientist is trying to make his case for climate change, and you just see these senators just like, keep going, okay. All right, yeah, I believe in the science, but I do believe this tobacco is really, really good for you. Michael Oppenheimer, I don't think it's really related to the Merchant of Death, but his title is Senior Scientist Environmental Defense Fund. I've got some questions. You're receiving funds from, I don't know, taxpayers, I am guessing, and it's for a defense fund. Meaning, in my opinion, you're going to receive all this money because you want to combat climate change. And also, another thing is, you got to keep the money rolling, right? You got to keep it rolling. So this defense fund, if you want your job for so many years, you got to convince the people that there is something going on and we need to investigate this. And we all know the biggest a bureaucracy is, the more faster it's going to be, right? Oh, we all know that. We all know that. Just so weird seeing George H.W. Bush be up there and say something like, climate change is not a political thing. This is bipartisan. Both sides agree on this. And fast forward to today, nobody, I mean, people are just so politically divided on this one issue. You got one side saying climate change is happening and the end of the world is going to happen in 10 years. And you got the other people saying, what climate change is happening? I'm not noticing world record numbers and stuff like that. I'm not recognizing places getting hotter and places getting colder. I'm not recognizing Miami Beach, in snow. I mean, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but you know what I'm saying. Back from the Jimmy Carter days, they were trying back then to get our whole society off fossil fuel into these renewable energies from Jimmy Carter. And that was a long time ago. So I can't even imagine how much of those policies are being implemented today. Jimmy Carter said he wants 20% of the energy that we use collectively as a nation from solar. Even back then, solar was a big thing. And now we got what? Solar portable batteries that, just in case you're in the wilderness and you're totally off the grid, but you have an iPhone and you want to charge it because you've got some, home movies you just want to watch. You got yourself a solar battery bank. Look at that. Not that you're connected to the internet or nothing because you're off the grid and just a single mistake, you're dead. But you got to watch your home movies when you're 2 feet away from a cliff. That's what you got to do. It's amazing how we as American citizens are so tied down to the oil in the Midwest, the Mideast, like Iran. Because we are probably one of the top 3 nations that need oil. So it's just weird seeing the optics that countries in the Mideast hate us, and there's a lot of people in America that kind of have a little like we don't want nothing to do with the Middle East, but yet we have this thing that's tie us together, which is oil. It's like a girl that you're flirting with at work. Like you want nothing to do with her, but you guys flirted with each other because, you guys both lost your virginity in the back of a Jeep. Is that a good no? Okay. Never mind. There was a gasoline rationing plan back in the 1980s, back in Jimmy Carter. Everybody could only get 2 gallons. Could you even implement that kind of program today? I doubt it. Especially if you got like a 19 or 2010 Ford Explorer. How are you going to do 2 gallons? That wouldn't even get you from Burbank to Burbank. You know what I mean? That would. Wow, if you guys just looked at how many people, while they were rationing gas, how many people were waiting hours just to get a few gallons of gas, 2 gallons. And one guy I saw, a black dude, was like, this is the second gas pump I had to go to and I'm empty. What? There would be riots outside. And I'm not even talking about, there'd be riots in Burbank. I'm not talking about South Central. I'm not talking about Compton. I'm not talking about East LA. I'm talking about, there'd be riots in Burbank or even Pasadena, Eagle Rock. Especially the Filipinos in Eagle Rock. You gonna tell me Filipinos are not gonna get violent after waiting an hour for gas? Especially they have to make their shift as a registered nurse at the Kaiser Permanente. Are you mean to tell me there's not going to be riots? There's going to be riots, bro. Ronald Reagan steps up and like, I want to be your Republican Party ticket because of this climate crisis. And that he did. And of course, Reagan handed off the power to George H.W. Bush, a former CIA director. And at the time, the Republican Party had a really good chance because Jimmy Carter was such F up because of the thing he did with the energy crisis, people waiting in line for hours just to get some gas. It was, look, Jimmy Carter as a man is a really, really a stand-up individual. I'm not disputing his character. I am disputing what people at the time were saying. It was a horrible presidency. Quite frankly, for me, I want a beer with the guy. The guy is a good guy. You could just tell he had a good soul. His administration didn't know how to administrate. And hence the era of George H.W. Bush. And if you know your history, George H.W. Bush became the vice president. And of course, who's the president? Ronald Reagan, the former California governor / actor. And one of their main contentions was, of course, which I stated before, was the energy crisis, which caused the Jimmy Carter administration to look disarrayed, bad, not good. It was George H.W. Bush's, how many H.W. Bushes? It was George H.W. Bush's plan to cut a lot of these regulatory stuff that the Jimmy Carter administration imposed as far as what Americans consume for energy. He was the main guy. People in the Reagan cabinet were like, George, hey, check this out, man. We need you to go to the EPA. I didn't even know if the EPA was still in existence, but we need you to go wherever there's a lot of climate change things happening, and we need you to take it down one policy at a time. Do you understand that, George H.W.? You do that. And George H.W. Bush was like, gonna do it. This is my best Dana Carvey impression. Gonna do it. There's something about, I don't know how you feel about this, but there is something about regulation that kind of stifles human innovation. And there is a lot of truth in that. Because it's like me, like I wanna make things, right? I want to make things, but if I had bandages, if I was restrained, I couldn't make these things. This is the worst kind of example, but it does make sense. When you have so much regulation, it kind of hinders. First off, when you have so much regulation, the bureaucracy is so big that it takes a while to be approved for anything. And innovation with that kind of barrier will not only slow things down, could sometimes, and a lot of times, come to a complete halt. It's just so crazy seeing things in the 80s, how so different it looks. The hair, the feel, the music, even the footage. I'm like, oh my God, the footage is so awesome. Reagan cut Carter's solar budget in half, and also Exxon sold like 77% of its solar projects away. Completely, the whole government was abandoning solar. Not even the whole government, even not private, but public companies like Exxon did it too. I am seeing a graph that says projected CO2 in the atmosphere, and it just keeps going up, and up. And of course, when a lot of people see this, they, like any human being, will get scared. They're like, oh my God, a bunch of CO2 in the atmosphere. Get your bags, hun. Get the sleeping bag. We're going to Northern California. We're going to live off grid because there's going to be 200-degree studio city / LA cities that we can't live in. I'm just saying, people will get extreme like that. By the way, the guy that's making these claims, I forgot what his name is, but he kind of looks tyrannical. This is just my opinion. He looks like a guy that first off, you don't want to work for, because you could tell that he's going to punch you in the face. There's something in his eyes, something in this guy's eyes that I just do not trust. Now, I'm not saying I don't trust his research. I'm just saying I have a good feel for people. And if I'm working with all the footage that I've seen of this guy talking, I don't want to meet. I don't want to have a beer with the guy. Jimmy Carter, yes. Jimmy Carter, I'll have a beer with you. But this guy, not so much. There was an Exxon internal document, and Exxon was monitoring all these different kind of metrics. And in the internal document, it said, we can either adapt our civilization to a warmer planet or avoid the problem by sharply curtailing the use of fossil fuels. Even Exxon said it with their research, saying that they have to curb fossil fuel. And these are internal documents saying, I don't know how we got out to I don't know how this documentary got it, but even Exxon is saying this stuff. Buried. Just probably coming to light now. So yes, I am very, very skeptical. First off, I'm very skeptical of, I'm skeptical of everything. Government, people. I'm very skeptical. The only people that I am not skeptical about are the Dodgers and the Lakers. Not skeptical of their ability to win championships, okay? But it is weird. I mean, these are internal documents essentially saying, hey, we gotta let the society know that whatever we're doing as a company is super bad for the environment. So take with that as you will, guys. I don't have too much longer to watch this documentary. I'm actually only... how many minutes am I in? I'm only 25 minutes in, and there's like another hour to this. I gotta make this video quick, but I do gotta say, again, I'm not denying climate change. I am not a climate fanaticist. With that being said, do your research, watch these documentaries, read peer-reviewed studies, read articles from legit climatologists and make your own decision. What I'm saying is, me living in Los Angeles, and for many Los Angelinos, we love our damn weather and we complain a lot. We complain a lot. I started complaining when it's low 60s, and everybody, all my friends from the East Coast that lives in Boston or New York is like, stop being a BTICH. I'm like, I'm so sorry. It's just me. But anyways, hope you guys have a good one. Peace out. See you guys tomorrow.